Hello there, my name is Kirk, and today I wanted to share with you my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro rig that I use for a lot of my large productions that require a bit of extra power, which include doing short films like my upcoming one, The Three Wise Men. This is definitely an iteration of that rig that I used for filming the entire short film, so let me share it with you today. Starting with the camera itself, I obviously utilize my trusty 6K Pro, which I've had for around about 2.5 years now. I've attached a tilter cage, specifically the half cage variant, which frees up the right handle grip on the camera and leaves no interruptions there. On top of the cage, I use a NATO rail to attach quick release handles, as well as a couple Peak Design clips to use a strap. On the bottom of the cage, I also utilize a small rig quick release plate that I've installed, so it makes it really easy to attach my quick release system, which I'll show in just a bit. Taking off the front cover of the lens cap, I attach my main lens, which I use all the time, which is my Sigma 18-35. This is such a fantastic lens, and I've used it for pretty much all of my productions, as well as attaching a tilter matte box ring, which allows me to attach the matte box on top of the lens later. For storage, I like to keep everything internal, utilizing this CFast 1TB card from Angelbird. It's a pretty expensive card, but I just can't deal with using a lot of those SSDs on the outside, as I love to keep everything as clean and wire-free as possible. Turning to arguably the most important part of my rig build, I have this custom quick release setup that I built using a small rig base plate, alongside a small rig quick release plate, which I put on top of the base plate that enables me to quickly detach and reattach my entire camera system into a small form factor. On the bottom of the setup, I've also mounted a tripod plate, which makes it really easy to attach and reattach the entire rig to a tripod system. I'll leave links to all the products I've used for this rig and the quick release system I've built here in the description below if you want to build it yourself, as it's much cheaper to build a system like this versus buying one that's out there. Next up, I attached these long 40cm small rig 15mm rods. They extend to the entire length of the camera rig, but don't protrude too far, as I wanted to get a nice balance between having a compact rig, but also supporting all the accessories I wanted to add, including the battery plate. I also add this Tilter Mini matte box on the front of the lens, which helps me in productions to manage lens flares. I don't need any ND filters on the front of the lens, as my 6K Pro has built-in NDs. As this rig is powered by a V-mount battery, I use this small rig V-mount adjustable battery plate, which comes in really handy whenever I wanted to access the screen on the back using this articulating arm. It's quite an adaptable plate, having a lot of different ports on the side. I mainly use the D-tap port to power my camera, but there's also other cables and ports in there that you can utilize if you wanted to power things like monitors too. This just goes on the back of the rig, and as you can see, it's all coming together quite nicely. Powering the entire rig is the Small Rig VB99 Pro battery. This V-mount battery is an absolute beast, and I've loved being able to use it on my setup. It's built incredibly well with rubber silicone on the side of the battery for grip, a big power button to power up the setup, and the V-mount plate on the back is super sturdy, and I'm quite surprised at how compact the battery is, given how much power it actually outputs. It lasts me around about 2 to 3 hours using the setup with the camera, and on top of the plate, it also has a lot more ports that enable me to charge other things like smartphones and other accessories, including 2 USB-C ports, a USB-A port, a 12V out and an 8V out port on the top, as well as a D-tap port on the side. The small LCD on the front is also incredibly handy, as I find the 6K Pro has really unreliable battery indicators, so this is a welcome nice addition, plus it provides charging status information when I am charging the battery. It slides on just at the back on my small rig battery plate, and altogether it provides a really compact and nice power solution. If I ever wanted to access the 6K Pro screen, I can easily just pivot the battery plate up, which is really sturdy and helps me access camera settings on the back of the camera whenever I need. This is super helpful, as sometimes I do like to have the battery plate down, and when I don't need to access the screen, it ensures that there's not too much wasted space on the entire rig when I fold it right back down. My top handle of choice is this Small Rig quick release NATO top handle. I love this model as it has a lot of different mounting points on the handle itself, as well as a cold shoe mount on the top. Now, it's not the most comfortable handle, but because of those mounting options, it works well. Focusing in on how I focus, I use the Tilter follow focus, which is a manual follow focus system. It works pretty well and I have no complaints so far. I use a focus gear ring which I've attached to my Sigma 18-35. It keeps everything low profile, and I attach the follow focus on the left hand side, as I usually have my right hand grip on the right and the focus on the left. The rig here now is really starting to take shape, so it's time to attach the display. I use the Filworld LUT 7 Pro monitor, which is a 2000 nit, really bright monitor. It is absolutely not color accurate, which is a big downside, but because it's really bright and a large display, it works well. It's also attached to a small rig mounting bit on the monitor, which goes with the quick release handle, and it keeps everything as low profile as possible. Spinning the rig around, the last main component is adding this small rig NATO side handle. As you can tell, I love the NATO attachments all over my rig, as it enables me to quickly attach and detach everything if I wanted to pack down the rig, which you'll see in a moment. So altogether, this is pretty much the rig in itself. Now it's time to attach everything else to the rig to make it all functional. But as you can see, it's still quite lightweight and fairly compact. But most importantly, it is really sturdy and easy to hold. To attach power, I use a D-tap to Blackmagic AC power cable, as well as a short, small rig 12cm HDMI cable to attach the monitor to the camera. Now these are the only two external cables I use throughout the whole setup, and I use the coiled cable from the battery plate into the camera and loop it underneath the whole camera itself. The final things to add are these little screws that go into the back of the rods to prevent anything from sliding out, and there you have it. That is pretty much the whole rig built out in itself. There's only a couple little things to add. I utilize these small NPF 570 batteries to attach to the monitor, which is really handy as it's the same battery type that I use with the 6K Pro, so everything works quite well. Overall, the setup works really well for those longer productions. Now, I definitely don't recommend using this type of rig completely handheld all the time, as you can pretty much damage your back quite quickly, as it's more heavy than just using the camera on its own. But if you use a cine saddle or an easy rig, this works really great, and especially great if you attach it to a tripod. Now it's time to show you the quick release disassembly process that I utilize with this rig. Now, one of the most important parts of this rig that I wanted to build was enabling me to go quickly from this built out section to then being able to use the camera just on its own. This is where those NATO attachments that I was talking about before really come into play. I can quickly detach the screen, the side handle on the side, and then the follow focus, which then enables me to detach the whole camera. Using the quick release plate I mentioned before, I detached the whole camera system using this lever, and the camera slides right off, leaving the battery plate, rods, and the follow focus behind when I don't need to use it. This is absolutely fantastic when I am on shoot and I just want to use the camera for some particular shots, just using the handheld mode and keeping everything nice and compact like you would with a DSLR. Putting the camera aside, you can see that the entire setup that is left behind includes the battery plate, the rod system, the quick release little build that I have, as well as the follow focus. And if I wanted to attach everything just again, all I have to do is bring the camera back onto the plate just like this. In the end, it takes around about 90 seconds for me to detach and reattach the rig whenever I need, which is far quicker than having to completely disassemble the entire rig whenever I wanted to get handheld shots. And that's my rig. If you have any questions at all, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, but I'll also leave all the items down in the description too. Have a great day, stay safe, and of course, do take care.